Among the great honors of my life was riding the bus from Montgomery to Selma as Congressman John Lewis narrated the countryside that passed by as we made our way to the Edmund Pettus Bridge, the scene of Bloody Sunday. The iconic images of him being brutally beaten and the marchers being chased back over that bridge in 1965 changed the course of the civil rights movement and American history. Today, a new biography of the late Georgia congressman is out that gives us fresh insight into Lewis's long legacy, from co-founding the Student Nonviolent Coordinating Committee to earning the nickname the Conscience of Congress. In John Lewis, A Life, biographer David Greenberg reveals surprising details about those accomplishments and the hardships Lewis had to endure to achieve them. Joining me now is David Greenberg, professor of history at Rutgers University and author of the newly released John Lewis, A Life. Professor Greenberg, thank you very much for coming to the Sunday Show. Why did you want to write this book?
Well, I started this book in the middle of the Trump years, and I had just finished a book on the history of political spin. People were saying you got to write a sequel about Trump. And I was thinking, I want to get as far away from Donald Trump as possible. And I sort of had a eureka moment. I realized there was no biography of John Lewis. And at the same time, he was someone who embodied, unlike Trump, so much as what's best about our democratic traditions. And so that set me off.
Did you learn anything about him that you didn't already know?
Oh,
one big surprising thing.
A great deal. I mean, from little things like the fact that he was a phenomenal collector of art, of African-American art, and filled his home with it, to to the role of Dick Cheney in helping establish the African-American Museum of History and Culture. But sort of the big thing, I think, was discovering how much of a political animal John Lewis was. We think of him as a man of great courage and conviction, which of course he was, and I found that to be very much the case. But when he got to Congress, he also learned, how to play politics and how to do it effectively. And I think readers will find in this biography of John Lewis, who's more nuanced and has more dimensions to him than the kind of plaster saint that sometimes perhaps he could be in popular portrayals.
Mm-hmm. A plaster saint, but I remember when he passed away and commenting, I've interviewed Congressman Lewis many times. In the last few times, I'd interviewed him maybe twice in a couple months. And, someone asked me, why would you interview him so many times? I said, because when an angel asks you, you do it. And he was very much, I think John Meacham called him the American saint. Yeah. You interviewed me for the book, and I want to put up this one quote that I gave you because we were talking about his last trip to Selma on the Edmund Pettus Bridge. And I said to you, quote, it was like nothing I'd ever seen. You could feel it. This might be the last time he's on the bridge and the last time we get to be a part of it. And one of the things, I hope we have this photo right here I took on the bridge. I was standing on the bridge and I heard a car door close and I saw him come out and I got that photo of him. This photo of him on that last one. This is one of the first trips I went on with the congressman on that bridge. You've been on that bridge. You've studied the life of the man. How seminal was that? It was seminal to us as Americans and to us as African Americans, but how seminal was Bloody Sunday to him?
Well, it was fundamentally important in his life. I mean, first of all, it really showed the limits to which John Lewis was willing to go to win freedom for African Americans, to win equality, in this case, voting rights. And he nearly died on that bridge. And the sort of pure courage and willingness to confront violence because he believed in that principle is something that I think few of us could imagine summoning ourselves. And it really influenced his whole life. He went on to run the Voter Education Project, to register blacks across the South, to fight for the renewal of the Voting Rights Act, to testify against John Roberts when he was proposed for the Supreme Court because he warned presciently, it turned out, that Roberts would gut the Voting Rights Act. So that fighting for the right to vote remained central to who he was for the rest of his career.